Kashmir is reeling from a terror attack on Tuesday that was unprecedented in its brutality and for the first time crossed a significant red line, targeting innocent tourists who have always been a lifeline for the valley, its biggest source of sustenance. As families of the 26 victims dealt with the shock and loss, and commiserations and support poured in from the world, the Indian government sprang into action with a deep probe and a 5-step offensive that hit at Pakistan's resources, communication, connections, entitlements, and diplomatic representation. But there could be much more in store.
जिन्होंने ये हमला किया है उन आतंकियों को और इस हमले की साजिश रचने वालों को उनकी कल्पना से भी बड़ी सजा मिलेगी.
Many are expecting and clamoring for a direct military attack on Pakistan. On Thursday, our man in Kashmir, Hakim Irfan Rashid, explained the contours, context, and immediate consequences of the attack to my co-host Nidhi Sharma. In this episode, ET's defense expert Manu Pubby explains to me what the government probe into the attack has revealed so far. And ET's diplomatic editor Dipanjan Roy Chaudhury delves into India's diplomatic response and its impact. It's Friday, the 25th of April. I'm your host Anirban Chowdhury, and this is the Morning Brief. First up, Manu. Hi Manu, very warm welcome to the Morning Brief.
Hi Anirban. Thank you for having me on the show.
Busy days for you, covering what is clearly the most horrific terror attack in many, many years, perhaps completely unprecedented in many respects. The government has, of course, kick-started a probe, and let's talk about that first. What has been revealed so far?
See, you're right. This is the worst attack on tourists in Jammu and Kashmir in its entire history. We've had terrorism there for over 30 years. On the probe, as we know, a group called the Resistance Front, it's called the TRF, they have claimed responsibility for the attack. So TRF is basically a name which is used by terrorists to take away responsibility from other terror groups. The TRF is just a front. It's an offshoot of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, LET, which as we know is based in Pakistan.
It's a proxy of some sort.
It's a proxy, and so they have claimed responsibility for the attack. The Indian probe also confirms the same, that yes, these members were probably part of the TRF. There has been intelligence intercepts which suggest that there was a cross-border involvement behind the attack. It also has revealed that some of the actors involved in this, the terrorists, were trained in Pakistan. Some were Pakistani nationals. The investigation, as we know, is still ongoing. See, as of right now, the attackers have not been caught or neutralized. So it will take some more time to find out and establish the identity and direct connection to Pakistan. But all current evidence, which is based on intelligence inputs, intercepts, and past information, does point to Pakistani imprint of the LET.
Tell me more about the TRF. For instance, have they perpetrated serious attacks in the past as well?
See, the TRF has carried out a series of attacks. I'll give you a bit of a background. TRF was established in 2019, and it was branded as a glitzy, youthful terror organization. They try to project local faces, which are Kashmiri youth who had joined them. They are known for releasing photographs and carrying. When they do carry out attacks, a lot of times they wear body cameras and they record the killings. Then they release them later. It's a bit of the ISIS style in which, everything has to be in social media. They have done a lot of attacks in the past few years, since 2019. The last big attack they did on civilians was last year in Riyasi, and they targeted a bus of pilgrims. What has distinguished them from other terror organizations in the recent past is they have made a statement of targeting civilians more than even security forces in the past few years. So they have killed some Kashmiri Pandits, they have killed some non-Kashmiri people working in Kashmir, like laborers. They targeted two teachers in Srinagar, including a Sikh and a Hindu person. So they are known to carry out attacks against civilians, which had become somewhat of a red line in the past few years. So that is what distinguishes them from some of the other groups, and that's why perhaps this rebranding was carried out to show them as a different organization and not a part of the LET.
Right, right. In fact, I read somewhere that intelligence estimates indicate the presence of around 60 foreign terrorists in the valley, and half of them are linked to the TRF.
So that's a number that has been, around. It's diminishing. At one point, there were 200, and now it's come down to 60. And one reason for the number coming down is that there has been a decline in local recruitment, basically, of Kashmiri youth. So there, people don't want to be associated with it, with terrorism. I think they're finding it difficult to find people to join in. And as you also said that half of them are foreign terrorists. So most of them are, not most, all of them are from Pakistan.
Understood, understood, Manu. Coming back to the attack, apart from the fact that this was on tourists and that was a first, any other feature in the modus operandi that made it unique?
See, the brazenness of the attack is something just quite unique. This area where the attack took place, it's a very popular tourist spot. It involves a short trek up from the main town of Pahalgam, and it is surrounded by forests. And this area does have, security presence in the sense that there are at times patrols carried out in the forests. So these guys definitely had been doing a reconnaissance of the area for a while. They knew the exact time between gaps. So they came in at the right time and could escape before security forces could respond. I believe security forces reached almost an hour after the attack to the spot. So what stands out is I think they had very pinpointed and accurate intelligence, which points to a local supporter, somebody perhaps who was actively or who had been planted into this area. Secondly, the way that they carried out the attacks, separating the men, asking for their religion, and making them recite Islamic religious verses. This has not happened for a long time.
Right.
This is reminiscent of the 90s when they were trying to separate people and when the Kashmiri Pandits were still in the valley. That has changed. A lot of people are drawing similarities between this and the Hamas attack into Israel because they did the similar thing. Basically, you go into a crowd, pick and choose people, shoot them, and convey a message which is very severe and which is designed to raise sentiments, emotions, and anger within India.
Tell me something. Aside of the fact that this is an intelligence failure at multiple levels, even broadly, doesn't it show that we are still playing catch up with terrorism, which is so fast evolving and taking, new, decentralized, hybrid, and digital forms?
See, the problem in dealing with terrorism is that you can be right 100 times in dealing with them. And, you have to succeed 100 times. The terrorist just needs to succeed once. I don't think any security force in the world, even the Americans or the Israelis, will be able to ever catch up with what new forms of terrorism will emerge. As we saw, the very well protected Israeli border was breached with all their intelligence apparatus. So it has to be, the strike back has to be at the core, the fountainhead of the problem.
Okay, now many sections of India are clamoring for a retaliation, and I mean specifically an armed attack on Pakistan. Now, I know you can't share any sensitive detail at this point, or for that matter, any point before the government actually announces it or we see it happening in front of our very eyes. But how do you see the pros and cons of this?
Sure. I mean, if you analyze the Indian government's response in the past, we've had two major terror attacks which emanated from Pakistan and both were responded to. I want to get into the past because that's what's going to give us an indication of what could come in the future.
Of course.
So when the first attack happened in this government's term, the response was that Indian armed forces went into Pakistan and took down launch pads of terrorists. Now, these are basically the last points in Pakistan or POK where terrorists are housed before being pushed into India. It was effective for a while, but then the second attack happened when we lost a lot of CRPF jawans when their bus was attacked by a suicide bomber. So we escalated our response. We hit Balakot in 2019 with an aerial strike. Balakot is inside Pakistan, not even POK, it's inside Pakistan. Now this has crossed a red line for us, with civilians being targeted. So, I mean, in my sense of my thinking is that we have to do something more than just attacking terror launch pads and training establishments. And what is above a training establishment? It is the ideological headquarters or the administrative headquarters or the leadership of the organization. So I think that is something which should probably be on the radar of decision makers. I think all kinds of military options are being evaluated right now. It could be admin headquarters, leadership. It could be a across-the-board strike on all three. There are options which are available to us today, which were not available in the past. For example, in 2019, we did not have the Rafale fighter jets, which are very potent for long-range aerial strikes and for deterring Pakistani Air Force from responding. We didn't have the S-400, which is an air defense system which deters any Pakistani aircraft from flying anywhere near our borders. We didn't have a range of loitering munitions, which are standoff weapons, which can be used to target specific individuals or places at long ranges. Other actions, and really high up in the escalation ladder, is limited action on the line of control, because these terrorists are pushed in through the line of control. And because of the past, the Shimla Accord and other problems of the past, there are certain vulnerable points on the line of control because of geography in which it makes easier for terrorists to enter. So really high up there is the possibility of realigning the line of control itself by military action. So a lot of options exist, but obviously the exact timing or the quantum of it will be decided by the political leadership in consultation with the military. And I think we'll have to just wait and watch where that leads.
Finally, Manu, give me 3 questions, the answers to which will be clearer to us in the coming weeks.
Firstly, what kind of response does Pakistan do to our moves? As you know, we have suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, and we have announced a lot of diplomatic measures against Pakistan. So we have to see what is their response there. I think they have limited options of a response other than outrage. Secondly, in a tactical battle or a tactical operation, it is key that you have to give them enough time and space to do it, because they need to figure out where, when, how, many elements that go into it. And the third will be, of course, what is going to be the Pakistani response in case of an Indian military action. So I think all 3 questions in the next 2-3 weeks will be answered. And the third question is key, because that will determine where the situation goes from now. Do we escalate higher up? Does one strike lead to a skirmish, to a limited battle? Or does it simmer off at just retaliation? So the Pakistani military response is going to be something to be watched out for in the coming days.
Manu, thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Brief.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Now, part of India's diplomatic counterstrike is keeping in abeyance or suspending an age-old agreement with Pakistan that has withstood the test of many conflicts and disagreements between the two countries. I'm talking about the Indus Waters Treaty. Signed in 1960, it's a water-sharing agreement between India and Pakistan, brokered by the World Bank. It's widely considered to be one of the most successful and resilient water treaties in the world. According to the agreement, western rivers like Indus, Jhelum and Chenab are allocated to Pakistan, while eastern rivers Ravi, Beas and Sutlej are allocated to India. India has unrestricted use of the eastern rivers, but it can also use the western rivers for non-consumptive needs, such as for hydroelectric power projects. Now, years back, India had agreed to let Pakistan use 80% of the water, even though most of the rivers originate in India. But Pakistan has been repeatedly taking India to international arbitration over hydropower projects in Kashmir. After the Uri attack in 2016 and the Pulwama attack in 2019, India has constantly been reviewing that treaty. And now it stands suspended. What does it mean? Here's Dipanjan.
For years, India has toyed with the idea of suspending the Indus Water Treaty because this is a treaty which is also a lifeline for the people and the economy of Pakistan, essentially impacting the people of Pakistan. So, what has been done now? The treaty has been put in abeyance, which means that it has a right to build reservoirs on the rivers, and that can slow down the flow of water in the due course. But it's a very big political message that the treaty which has survived wars, the treaty which has survived earlier attacks, and by putting it abeyance, the government of India made it clear that blood and water cannot flow together.
Right. And Dipanjan, what about the other big decisions?
The other move was to make the military advisors of the Pakistan High Commission, which is the Army Attaché, Air Attaché, and Defense and Navy Attaché, persona non grata or PNG. And by asking them to leave, you limit the scope of Pakistan's activities in India in terms of inciting or extremism or trying to snoop on the various sensitive installations. The other steps involve the suspension of SARC visas, which Pakistani nationals were here. And that is only one visa which Pakistani nationals have used easily because that's a visa which comes with a term and you don't have to apply for.
The SVES visa, right?
Yes. But today, on Thursday, the Minister of External Affairs has announced that all visas are cancelled. So before 27th April, all Pakistani nationals will have to go back. So now it is extended to all kind of visas and not just SARC visas. Because number of Pakistanis come to India for medical treatment and they have also been asked to get withdrawn by April 29, whether the visa is valid or not. So that's also, impacting or will impact the people to the kind of the flow of movement from Pakistan, because it has also been found in the past that in terms of the citizens of Pakistan who have traveled here, they have misused the visas, they've overstayed and also indulged in activities which are beyond normal tourism or medical visa activities. So that's also controlling their influence in India. So these are some of the among the 5 steps which I would say are very critical steps. And getting forward, these will be implemented, as I understand, very strictly and earnestly.
Apart from an outright denial, how has Pakistan reacted?
Pakistan, short while back on Thursday, held a national security meeting. I think they have taken a couple of steps, including right to put Simla Treaty on abeyance, but it doesn't mean much because Simla Treaty, Pakistan has not abided by Simla Treaty in any case and tried to internationalize this issue. And they are also putting all trade on hold, either via directly or indirectly. But then, the trade is anyway minuscule. These are symbolic gestures, retaliatory gestures that they're taking. I think Pakistan is quite isolated this time, and particularly when unarmed tourists have been attacked, in a sense that even closest allies of Pakistan have come out in support of India following the attack and described it as a terror attack. Particularly notable is from Turkey, the Republic of Turkey, which has described the attack as a terror attack and used the term Jammu and Kashmir, which is instead of a Pakistan's coinage of Indian administered Kashmir. Yeah.
You beautifully brought me to the broader geopolitics of it.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it more complicated than before, especially with China more aggressive than it had been? And I think it stopped short of calling it a terror attack, unlike Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, a US that is not as friendly to India as it had been.
No, I think US this time has been friendlier than before. Even after 2019, also with the Trump 1.0, this time Trump has been very categorical. He issued a statement. He called up PM within hours of the attack while PM was still in Saudi Arabia, and I assured all support. The Russian president had also issued a very strong statement in India's favor. And the Chinese statement there's a nuance, I would say. It stopped short, but it also called out terrorism. So, and given the thaw in the Sino-Indian relationship, the Kailash Mansarovar visit is going to start. There are talks of other CBMs being undertaken. So direct flights might resume. So they would probably not. The Chinese will trade a very cautious line. On one hand is their ally. Pakistan, on the other hand, is an Indian market and a cooperation which can bring a balance in the larger geopolitical context amid the tariff war. So they would trade a very fine balance, and they're also hosting the SCO summit this year. So they would not like to create a situation where that there is distance created between Beijing and New Delhi over Pakistan.
Understood. Finally, Dipanjan, I'll ask you the same question that I asked Manu. Tell me
Yeah.
3 questions, the answers to which will be clearer in the coming weeks.
I think clearer will be the military options that India will exercise or probably will exercise. So I think that would be clear because Pakistan stands isolated in any way because of its weak economy, reputation, its unskilled diaspora. So these will anyway has not been helping Pakistan's cause. So in the coming weeks, I mean, it will find it increasingly isolated globally as concrete evidence of their role is established in this attack.
Dipanjan, thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Brief.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it for today. This episode was produced by Vinay Joshi, sound designed by Radhis Naik. A new episode of the Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday on a listening platform of your choice. Have a good weekend. The external clip used in this episode belongs to its owner. Credits are mentioned in the description.